Uh-oh. Hello,
All right,
good
we're live.
evening, good evening. How are you guys doing today? I am Radlin Mendoza, and this is my husband-in-law partner, John Gardner, and we are here to answer your immigration questions tonight, just as we do almost every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And tonight we thought we'd mix it up a little bit and have the live stream in our living room. So
That's right, in front of our Christmas tree. How's everyone doing out there? Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. We weren't here last Wednesday because we were, stuffing turkeys and prepping collard greens and, all the things that you do on a Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. So we weren't here, but we're back. And as Radlin said, I'm John Gardner, and this is Radlin Mendoza. We are the law firm Gardner and Mendoza, and we come to you every Wednesday from 8 to 9 to give you updates on immigration law and other things going on in the law that are important for you to know, and most importantly, for you to bring your questions so we can get them answered. I also want to say hello to our TikTok family out here. If you're seeing me through the evening and I'm always looking up here and moving stuff
hi,
around,
guys.
that's just me monitoring the TikTok questions. We have a lot of questions that come through TikTok. I will tell you folks on TikTok, you are better off to be on the Facebook. That's a better way to get your question answered. So if you're joining us on TikTok and you have the ability to go over to the Facebook page, that is recommended.
What's the Facebook page? What's the Facebook page?
You just go to Facebook and you find us there.
Yes. So you go to Facebook. We are at Gardner Mendoza Law, at Gardner Mendoza Law. If you want to hop onto Facebook. Now, one thing about appearing in the living room is we are not connected by a wire. We're using our Wi-Fi. So hopefully the connection remains stable. I mean, sometimes I'm getting a little notification that connection is unstable. So if you guys can't hear us for whatever reason, apologies.
Right.
We just thought we'd try to mix it up in front of our Christmas tree, which we put up with our 3 daughters over the weekend before our oldest went off back to college.
But since we're not in our studio, we don't have as good of a connection.
The studio. And since we don't, but you guys are our non-studio audience, right?
So we've got some people already coming in.
Yeah, hello to everyone joining us.
We've got Amira joining us from saying hello from Hawaii. She's watching from Hawaii.
Fantastic. Awesome. We've got Sergio and Miss Lovely. Hello, Armando, Eric Mendoza. Are we related? We could be related. Could be.
It's a real possibility.
It's a very common last name. Mm-hmm. But anyway, all right. Well, let's get started. But before we get started, I think that you have to tell them what our lawyers tell us about the Facebook Live and the live stream.
I do have to warn you that what we do here is for educational and informational purposes only. It is technically not legal advice.
All right? Yes, this is for educational purposes only. In fact, I made a video and someone made a comment and said, "Is it really true?" Whatever I said, well, here is the link to the article, the presidential proclamation that I am referring to. You have to look and do your own independent research. But anyhow, we're giving out good quality information. Yeah. We'll say that.
And Eric Mendoza, who may be related to you, possibly.
He could be though.
Yeah, watching from
Quezon City. Teamwork. I really think we could be related.
Yeah.
So Eric, my dad is from Quezon City. Family grew up there. So I'd be embarrassed if we actually were relating. Like, yeah, I know we're cousins. Dummy.
I think he would tell you that.
He would tell us.
I think he would tell you that.
Right. All right. So educational purposes only.
Informational purposes
only. And we also sometimes, usually we give an inspirational story, an inspirational immigration story.
Right.
And today we are going to briefly talk about our experience in touring global headquarters of Operation Smile here in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And it was amazing. If you all, it was such an amazing tour. If you all don't know about Operation Smile, they started out as just a few doctors helping children with cleft palates, and they started out in Naga, Philippines, and that's where they first did their initial surgeries, and now they're in 30 countries, right?
That's right. We've met this afternoon. We had a really lovely afternoon just touring with Dr. McGee, and just an amazing organization. If you're not familiar with Operation Smile, you really should just Google and look into it. I mean, what a stellar group of people, just very inspirational. I think he said that they've now performed over the years like 370,000 cleft palate surgeries all over the world. Just unreal.
And now has grown into more of just best medical practices throughout the world, and teaching countries how to have the best medical practices, especially in impoverished areas. So we were there for a couple of hours. We got to chat with the founder, Dr. Bill McGee, a co-founder. He co-founded it with his wife, Kathy McGee. And I know of Operation Smile because I'm from the area. And when I was in high school, they were just getting started. And I was in, the Smile Club and helped raise money for Operation Smile. So it was really cool to be able to meet Dr. McGee and have a chat with him. I've probably met him in passing over the years, but he is just an inspirational guy with so many gems, so many great stories,
a lot of wisdom,
and just really just a heart for helping children. And just feeling that pull, like I can do one more, I can do more surgeries. We got to go back. We cannot turn anyone away.
It always comes back to the children. Every story he tells talks about how something got better because of helping children.
Yes. So we will put some pictures up of that really wonderful meeting. If you all are looking to support a wonderful organization, check out Operation Smile. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it. It's a wonderful organization, and we're really blown away today by our tour and just this humble co-founder of Operation Smile.
Yeah, they've got a really neat tour set up over there where you walk through and you kind of see what it's like to be in the Philippines and in the operating room, and it's cool.
There's a jeepney. There's a Nipa hut. It is really cool. But anyhow, for those of you joining us, welcome and thank you so much. We do have a couple of questions on the board already.
Yep, and we've got questions coming into TikTok already as well.
Yeah, so let me just scroll here and see. Let's see here, Christine. This is a good question. Christina I'm putting the first question up here. Christina says the court approved my cancellation of removal in December 2019. I haven't heard anything else in regards to getting my visa. Is this normal, and how much longer should I expect to wait? Thank you. So 2019. So Christina, we have partnered up with a law firm in Washington, D.C., and they primarily handle all of our removal cases. But it is not unusual for things to not move to production of what you need, your immigrant visa, your green card, when it comes from the court. And also you're right there kind of in the middle, or was the beginning of the pandemic, right? In December of 2019. So I'm assuming, well, hopefully that you had someone helping you with your case, an attorney, but it is not unusual for things to take that long to get to, the actual document in your hand that you got the cancellation of removal, and you're waiting for the benefit. It's not unusual for it to take this long. So hang in there, be patient, and I would check in with your counsel just to, make sure everything is good to go. But it's fairly common. So hang in there. Maybe it'll get there for Christmas. A little pushing, and perhaps that would happen. All right. Next question is from Robert Bob. He needs advice about his I-130 for his family. So if you have a question, if you have a specific question, let us know. I-130 to answer those.
Yep. Yeah, or if you want legal advice, you can make an appointment with our office, reach out to us, and we'd be happy to schedule an appointment to do that. And I should just say for everybody watching, our office is physically located here in Virginia Beach, but you don't have to be in Virginia Beach to work with us, and we don't need you to be here to work with you. We have clients all over the country. We have clients all over the world. If you're more comfortable working with an immigration lawyer who you can physically, drive over to their office and sit down at their conference table with them, we get that. But if you don't need that and you just want stellar immigration legal advice and service, then we can help you from anywhere in the world. All right.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thanks to our TikTok family, we have definitely broadened our reach.
Yeah.
And are hearing from people all around the country. Thank you guys for your support and making appointments and having consultations and just, making sure that everything is kind of going in the right direction with their immigration case. They're not necessarily hiring us to do it, but they're consulting with us on really important matters. I had a couple of appointments today, and I always, especially with my, because when you're consulting with an attorney, there are a lot of attorneys online, right? You really don't know what you're getting into, not really. But I always end the call, because it's a short call, with was this phone call helpful? And I have 100%. It's been helpful.
Right.
What are you going to say? No, it hasn't been helpful. But no, I asked that question because if it is no, then I want to know what we can do better to make it more helpful for them. But anyhow,
there are a lot of self-filers out there, and if that's what you need to do or you want to do, fair enough. But you should at least make sure that you get some guidance on what you're doing, because this is a hugely important thing that you're doing, and there are so many traps and pitfalls along the way that you can fall into if you're not careful and you don't know what you're doing. So it really is worth, I know, sometimes people don't want to spend the money. I really think it's worth it to consult with an immigration attorney, again, even if it's not us, with some immigration attorney who has experience in the field, just to make sure that you're going down the right road. Because some of these cases take a very long time, and you don't want to find out that you made a critical error and find out 7 years after you started this journey that, oh gosh, if I had just done this differently, everything would be good. And now it's not. So
right.
Worth the investment.
Yesterday, I believe it was yesterday, I gave a second opinion about a case, and it really helped. It actually was the same advice that the previous attorney had said, and he was really just looking for a second opinion to give him peace of mind for something that was coming up. So helping is makes me feel good, makes us feel good, and hopefully it's a benefit to you as well. All right, so let's look at some questions up on the phone there.
Okay, so Daddy Japoy says, question, what is the I-864W for? The NVC has asked me to pass it. I'm not sure that's...
The 864W. So the 864 is the affidavit of support. Let me look at what the 864W is. It could be, I don't know what the request for exemption for intending immigrants. I have not done an 864W. This is a request for exemption for intending immigrants affidavit of support. So I'm not really sure what this is because I have not filed an 864W. Maybe I have, I just don't remember. That's highly possible. But it looks like you're exempting yourself from the 864 somehow. But I'm sorry, I can't go into more detail with that because I just don't know.
Okay, whoops.
Also, our dogs might bark. Just here.
Okay, we have another question. Amira says, ma'am, I'd like to ask you about my marriage license in Pakistan. I cannot register there because they are asking for a verification from the embassy.
So,
Not sure. There's not really a clear question in there, but maybe you could comment on that. Just generally.
so I'm not exactly sure about that. Cannot register the U.S. marriage certificate. Is that the question?
I don't know. It's not clear. That's why
Yeah.
it's
So
a kind of a vague question.
So sometimes the registration is it depends on the country, right? I know that we just spoke with Roy Staris from he's a notary for the Philippine embassy, and they sort of have this whole process in order to kind of verify documents in order for them to be recognized in the Philippines. And so you have to kind of go through these different steps. It used to be called the red ribbon process, but now it's a seal. So that may be something that is required in Pakistan if you're trying to register your marriage. And I don't know if you're talking about registering a marriage with someone who's here in the United States, and maybe you got married there. So maybe a little bit more information if you can provide that.
Yeah, if you could give us a little more detail, that'd be helpful.
All right, let me grab a question here. Sergio, my girlfriend is in the Philippines. I have not been able to see her since COVID started. The last time I saw her was October 2019. Am I able to apply for a fiance visa for her? Thank you very much. The answer, unfortunately, is no. You have to have seen your fiance within 2 years of filing that I-129F fiance visa petition. And since the last time that you saw her was October 2019, you would have had to file that by October 2021. And of course, it's now December 2021. So I am sorry to give you that news, but maybe a fun trip in the future for you. And the dog is crying.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do you have a question?
Yeah. So somebody wants to know, again, we understand that you're trying to type quickly, and sometimes they're complicated questions. So, but more detail is better because it's hard to answer questions when they're missing pieces. But,
and again, if you all want to come over on Facebook at Gardner Mendoza Law,
right.
You can just hop on, type your comment in. I don't think there is any character limitation on Facebook comments. So that might help with just sort of the flow of the question on TikTok, because I know it's just like, you can only do so many characters on TikTok.
So GM Travelers wants to know, can I still go to the U.S. as a tourist on a tourist visa while my petition is in progress? And it's not clear what kind of petition, but we can presume that
family petition.
Family petition that's pending.
Right.
And the question is, while that's pending, can I come to the U.S. on a tourist visa?
Gotcha. So essentially, if you have the tourist visa already, right? Okay, let's just do the scenario of you don't have the tourist visa. If you don't have the tourist visa and you apply for a tourist visa, what's going to happen? Of course, you're going to have to put on your application, your DS-160, that you are, in fact, you do have a petition pending for you, and you do have family members in the United States, maybe a U.S. citizen spouse or whoever filed that petition for you, be listing that on the DS-160. And listing the family members and listing the fact that you have a I-130 and I-130 petition pending for you while applying for that visa is going to actually decrease your chances of getting issued the tourist visa, because the tourist visa is a non-immigrant visa status that they're trying to grant you, and you are already in the process of applying to become an immigrant of the United States. And so those are conflicting intents. So if you don't have a tourist visa already, you probably are not going to get it. You can apply, but you have to be forthright on your application and putting down that you have this process pending, you have the family members. I have to really stress this because we've seen it before where someone has lied on their DS-160
Right.
in applying for the tourist visa, and then that just messes up everything in the future. So they're like, oh yeah, no problem. You don't have any family members. No one's ever filed a petition for you. Sure, you can go to the United States on this tourist visa. But then, when they get here, that I-130 petition becomes current, and then they want to do adjustment of status, but you've lied now. You've made a material misrepresentation. So anyhow, that's if you don't have the tourist visa. If you already have the tourist visa, you come in, and at the port of entry at the airport, they ask you what the purpose of your trip is. And you have to be honest. If you're coming to visit your lawful permanent resident spouse who filed an I-130 petition for you, you have to say that. Can that be problematic sometimes? Sometimes it can. They may just say, no, we believe you're going to immigrate on this trip on your tourist visa, which is impermissible. And so therefore we're not going to allow you to come in. And in fact, you've got to get on an airplane and go back home. So yes, to answer your question is yes, you can try, but you must be honest about the purpose of your trip, knowing that sometimes honesty will get you put back on a plane. But we can't tell you to be dishonest, because you could mess up any future applications. So that was a really long answer to
the long game.
A very short question. But it's really important, and it's a really, really, really good question. And I have also seen, and this is a little bit kind of off track a little bit, not really, but we've also had cases where the local office and deciding a green card application and giving us a request for evidence or a notice of intent to deny, they will say, hey, when you changed your status, you should have notified the U.S. Embassy of this change of status, so for us to reevaluate your B1, B2 visa. And I mean, what do you do with that? I mean, that's hard to get around. So that was a really complicated case, and there were a lot of issues there. But I've seen that at least one time, not at least one time, but one time. So all right, I hope hopefully we answered that question.
I hope that helps GM Travelers, and I think it did, because GM Travelers sent a rose. So.
Yeah, he's just like, so much information. Let me just thank you for that. A rose I think is worth like 0.01 cents. I really we appreciate that. I think we have like 18.25 cents now in our TikTok account. It's amazing. All right. So let's see here. Somebody asked a question here. Robert asks, this is Robert. He says, what's the difference between the I-130 and the I-130A? So the I-130 petition is for the U.S. citizen or the lawful permanent resident to sign, and the I-130A is for the spouse beneficiary to sign. So the I-130A is for the beneficiary, the spouse of the U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. The I-130A is not required for any other family members other than the spouse. Okay. I'm going to just stop because I answered the question.
All right. Do we have any more there?
Let's see here. Yes, we have a question here. Let's take a look at that. You want to read that for me?
All right. This is from JC. Hello. Question regarding I-485. I made a mistake on the yes or no answer. I said no regarding the question about any visa denials, and I did have one when I applied for student visa and got denied. I overlooked it. How can I rectify my mistake? Thank you, and God bless.
JC, great question. So when you go to your interview, then that is the time that you can correct that. If you feel like you must correct it now because you just feel like you want to, you can send a letter and a correction, just that you made a mistake. But I would just do it at the interview. So basically what happens is you'll get sworn in to tell the truth at your interview. And when it comes to that question where it says, have you ever been denied a visa or entry into the United States? Well, it's denied a visa. And then the next question is entry. So you can say at that point, I said no on my green card application on my 485, but I'm sorry, I made a mistake. That was an error. I actually was denied when I applied for a student visa. So the officer will correct that. It's not going to be a problem. You can also, if it makes you nervous throughout the interview, because again, that's a question down the, it's probably on page like 14 or whatever. You can say at the beginning of the interview after you swear, and you can say, hey, I have a change to make. I just want to make sure that I let you know that I have been denied a visa. I checked no on the I-45, but the answer should actually be yes. So it's not going to be a problem. Don't worry too much about it. You can correct it at the interview.
Honesty is the best policy here.
That's right.
Okay, let's see here.
So while you're taking a look at that, can I give a quick update?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to hold off on the questions for a minute.
Yeah.
We do have some updates.
We do have it. Do you want to give you give an update and I'll.
Yeah, sure. I'll start by giving an update. We've had a lot of people that have been asking me from time to time, what's going on with immigration reform. So here's where we are right now. I won't, really drill down deep into this because it's all hypotheticals at this point. But where we are is the spending bill, the Build Back Better legislation at the end of November, I think November 30th, passed the House. The Senate is expected to take up this legislation sometime this month. And there are a couple things going on here. The legislation does have some immigration reform provisions that are in it. Now, for those to survive, they would have to get through the Senate, and they would have to get obviously enough votes there, or a divided Senate 50-50 with the vice president as the tiebreaker. And so the Build Back Better legislation that came out of the House is coming to the Senate in the form of reconciliation so that it can get past the filibuster. All right. The problem with that is that it's a spending bill. To be a reconciliation bill, it has to deal directly with spending. There have been two prior immigration reform provisions that were attached to bills that were rejected by the Senate parliamentarian, who ruled in both of those cases that there were the fundamental policy changes that they were making outweighed the budgetary considerations that they had. So twice they've been shot down. It's not important what those were because they were shot down. What's currently on the table is a provision to give qualified, and I'm reading here, immigrants who've lived in the United States since January 2011 an opportunity to apply for temporary work permits and protection from deportation under a process called parole. This is about 60% of the immigrants who are in the country right now without authorization would be eligible for this protection. Not sure, the Congressional Budget Office thinks that that's about 6.5 million people. So it's a pretty big number. These work permits, basically what you would get would be a work permit. This is if you got parole, would last for 5 years and can be renewed one time for another 5 years, which would extend the protection to 2031. And those who are eligible could also apply for benefits like Medicare, Medicaid, and would also be able to travel outside of the United States and to re-enter. So that's the big provision that's on the table right now. The Senate parliamentarian met with Senate Democrats recently, and my understanding is did not rule it out, just said she would take it under consideration. And again, the question is this creating a policy change rather than just a budgetary impact? Okay, that's the decision that she's making. If she rules that this falls outside of the budget considerations, all right, then it can't go through the reconciliation process. And so it will have to be stripped out of the bill that the Senate ultimately passes, if it passes at all. Okay. If she rules that it can stay in, well, then we're in luck. We have something that could possibly get through. We still have another problem after that, and that is that the 50 Democrats in the Senate are not completely unified on the Build Back Better program. There's been a lot of debate about the budget And the deficit, the CBO scored it, and they think it's going to add $1.65 billion to the deficit, which has caused more than one Senate Democrat to basically say, that's too much. We need to put the brakes on this. We need to trim this down. I don't think that the immigration provision is what will get stripped out of that if it's just a pure too much spending situation. But the bigger problem is that all these Senate Democrats who will be voting on this come from very different states. Okay. And the reason that's important is because some of them are in states where people don't like this provision at all. They say parole for 5 years and an extension for 5 years. That doesn't go far enough. We need a path to citizenship. And they are putting a lot of pressure on their senators to not accept that, to reject that and go for the home run ball. Okay, they say this is too little. Other Senate Democrats are in states where their constituents are telling them and putting pressure on them to take what you can get. If we can get parole for 5 years, that can be extended 5 years, and we can travel, it's something, and something is better than nothing. So go for it. So now we've got this fight internally among the Senate Democrats about whether this is enough or not. And, that could derail it as well. So, we don't ever get political here. So whatever position you have is your position, but that is the update. And it is going to be taken up this month. And the parliamentarian is supposed to be ruling on this within the coming week. So I fully expect that before 2022, I will have some really big updates about this. So
All right.
Keep watching. The next 3 weeks, we're probably going to learn a lot about the fate of this bill.
I do not like politics, but I do understand it is necessary to go through the system.
Okay.
With people.
But that's where it is right now.
Thank you. Thanks for that update. Awesome.
Oh, look, my mom is watching. Hi, Mama. Hey, Mom, I'm going to call you when we're done here, okay?
You want to just talk to her now? All right. Let's see here. We answered JC's. I put JC's comment on because it was, you're very welcome, JC. That's what we're here for.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So glad we could help.
Yep. All right. So Doc Andrews, good evening. Good evening. How you doing, Doc? My priority date is August 2021. I just did my biometrics last week for my EADs, work authorization card, and adjustment of status. A company wants to hire me. Is it possible to request with USCIS to expedite my case, just submitting a job offer / contract? Yeah, it's possible. Will it get approved? Probably not. It's really tough to get expedited EAD right now, but absolutely give it a shot. But I would also throw in what this means to you, the hardship that it means to you, the financial hardship that it means to you, what you're going to be losing potentially in being able to do the things that you need to do. So I would definitely, you must show the hardship, not just your job offer contract, but how that is going to be a hardship on you and your family. Hopefully that helps. And good luck. It is hard, but yeah, sure. Try it. Go for it. Let us know what happens.
Yes. That was some of the wonderful advice that we got today. It doesn't hurt to ask. The worst that can happen is somebody says no. Right.
From Dr. McGee, it does not hurt to ask. And he also said that he also said a couple of times that life is a contact sport, right? He said that several times, and what he meant by that is that it really matters who you have contacts with and who you're able to speak with to help solve a problem. It doesn't have to be, the highest level person or the wealthiest person. You don't know who is sitting next to you that may be able to help you.
Yeah, maybe it'll help you or may be able to put you in touch with somebody that can help you.
Right, exactly. So we're just passing on the good advice that we got from Dr. McGee and our very wonderful experience.
Yeah, in our intro, I don't know if we thanked him. Thank you for having us today. That was absolutely fantastic.
That was really, it just made us, I don't know. Two things happened to me. I was like, wow, I really want to be a better person. And wow, I'm really not doing anything at all with my life. That's not true. Those are the feelings that I got. True. Well, I mean, we have our 3 beautiful children. That's enough for me. But we also have the law firm and all of you guys.
Right.
All right. Let's see here. Do we have any questions?
We do.
Let's grab a couple, because I did a couple here.
Jonah Balinkas put this question in pretty early on. Said, I'm a green card holder, married for 9 years, but divorced, and I want to apply for citizenship. What form should I use?
The form to apply for U.S. citizenship for naturalization is the N-400. The N-400. Bless you. And that can be found on uscis.gov. If you are a self-filer, please do not go anywhere other than uscis.gov to get your form. Now, there's also an option to file that form online. We are not yet big, huge fans of online filing. We still do all paper filing. I know we actually have a question here about evidence on a electronic filing, but that's an option for you. And good luck. You've got this. Go for it.
Yep. And the divorce is just a red herring here. That's not something that has an effect here. Okay.
Right. Because you've been a permanent resident for at least 5 years, sounds like. All right, let's see here. Ruby. She or he is the one that came up with the question about additional evidence. Ruby is applying for the N-400 through marriage. Add additional evidence. What else would you recommend adding? I applied online, and I think I can still add evidence. So I don't know what you've already added. So with the applying for the N-400 through marriage, the additional documentation would be to show that you have been living with your U.S. citizen spouse for 3 years prior to preceding the filing of the N-400. So you could submit 3 years of tax returns. You could submit both you and your spouse's utility bills. If you have a lease together, you could submit that. You could also submit a mortgage if you have that, just to show that you all have been living together for the past 3 years. So a lot of times people will say, hey, well, what about my marriage certificate? The marriage certificate doesn't really mean anything. They already know that you're married, and but it's to prove and to show, of course, that you have met that requirement. We usually submit this evidence and documentation at the interview. We don't typically put a lot of this. We'll put some of it in the N-400 filing, but we usually bring it to the interview. You have to bring updated documents to that interview anyway. And Ruby's not mentioning anything this, but I will say, for those of you who have a criminal conviction or an arrest or anything like that, then you also have to submit a certified disposition of whatever happened to that case, unless it involves speeding tickets, traffic tickets, parking tickets. You don't have to put that evidence in. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question, Ruby.
Yep.
Ruby, it was a really good question.
And I'm going to piggyback on that for just one moment to give some advice here about criminal charges. Obviously, if you already have a criminal conviction, you just have to work with what you have. But if you are not a U.S. citizen and you have any kind of criminal or traffic charges pending, you really should consult with an immigration attorney. You can call our office, or again, whoever you're comfortable with, but you really should consult with somebody about the charge. Yes. And how it may affect your immigration case, because there are some things that seem pretty minor that can absolutely derail your immigration case or get you removed from the country. So you got to be very careful with that stuff. All right.
Right. Absolutely. So we're consulting with someone, and the charge and conviction that they initially called about was not going to be a problem for their naturalization. But the more we started talking to this person, there was a violation of a protective order. And that was a problem. And it was, a couple of years ago. So, that's what that person called us about was not what was going to be the problem after we kind of started getting into the history of the case. So absolutely, this is very, 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 very wise advice, because sometimes you can actually land yourself in removal proceedings because of a naturalization filing.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a DUI and you're applying for DACA, or you have a domestic assault and battery charge, these are the kinds of things that create pitfalls. We're getting all kinds of weird issues with with marijuana, because marijuana is not legal in so many states. It is not legal under the federal law yet. And so don't be fooled into thinking that you're free to go ahead and start using marijuana without any trouble. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you need to be careful. Okay.
You can't use it.
So just
don't use it.
Yeah, that's
just
a more direct
if you
way
have
of putting it.
to use something, just guess you could drink coffee or alcohol.
Yeah, and if you have a charge pending, you really need to talk to somebody, because you can, a lot of times the immigration attorney working with the criminal defense lawyer can, craft a solution, what we call a safe haven, that will satisfy, the prosecutors in the court, and will also save you from any immigration consequences that are adverse. I did it today. I won't get into details about the charge, but I had the exact situation today. The charge as charged would have been a kiss of death for this person, and we were able to work something out and amend it to something that will be a non-issue for them.
Right. And the whole team, we all kind of chimed in about whether what that charge got reduced to was going to be a problem for immigration. So we had to kind of roll up our sleeves and do research and make sure that we were correct on that, because we're representing people whose lives are going to be impacted by this. And John had a lot of pressure today because of just a possible adverse outcome. And thankfully, as I don't have to do that. John's the one that goes to court and has to deal with these I don't know. I wouldn't want to do it. I don't have the stomach for all that. I used to go to jail. I used to do removal work and deportation, and I just had to stop that because it was tearing me up to go to jail and to know that.
Bottom line, if you're not a U.S. citizen, and
be careful.
I don't want to dwell on this all night, but
even though we already have, it's so also important though.
If you're not a U.S. citizen, make sure you tell your lawyer that as well. You would be shocked how many criminal defense lawyers are representing people and they don't know anything about their immigration status. So sometimes they do something that hurts their client without even knowing it. They should be asking that question, but if they're not asking you, you make sure you tell them, hey, I am not a U.S. citizen.
By the way,
is this going to be a problem for immigration? And if they don't know the answer, then they
call us.
Yeah, then you tell them to call us. That's right.
They call us. That's actually what they do. So John and I have done a lot of attorney education, continuing legal education, and helping the defense community, the defense attorneys. Say, look, on your intake sheet, you have to have, are you a U.S. citizen? Because a lot of people just have these preconceived notions about what a U.S. citizen looks and sounds like.
Exactly.
And if you don't fit that, then they're not going to ask. And, the potential consequences.
I mean, I've had attorneys say to me, oh, I never even thought about that. I mean, he didn't have an accent, John. Well,
right. He's been here since he was 7.
And Doc Andrews says, thank you so much. I love your Christmas tree. Thank you.
Thank you. We love putting it up every year, and there are a lot of these ornaments on this tree. As our older daughters are, they're 16 and 18 now. They're just like, Mom, what's up with these? Mom and Dad, what's up with these ornaments? Like, you made these ornaments when you were elementary school. We're not getting rid of these ornaments. We are not switching to like a Martha Stewart tree or a Pottery Barn tree. We did cave and did only white lights, which I was 100% opposed to. I wanted like the blinking.
We were raised on multicolor, blinking,
yes,
a whole bit.
Lots of tinsel. Anyway, it's
Okay, let's grab a question.
Let's
here real
grab a
quick.
question. Yeah.
Okay, Mackenzie Caillou has a good question. Says, "Hi, I'm a green card holder, and I want to and eligible to apply for citizenship. Is it better to be a citizen first, or to file my petition for my wife first, and then become a citizen?" So he wants to know. He's a green card holder, eligible for citizenship. Wants to know, should he get a citizenship first and then apply for his wife, or should he do the wife apply for her now?
Sounds like wife is out of the country. That's my assumption about that question. So what I always say, and what we always tell our clients is, look, the petition is going to take a couple of years. Okay, it may not. I mean, it might take. You might get it to the Nebraska Service Center, and it gets approved in like 3-4 months, and then it goes to the NVC. But I mean, it's going to take at least, let's just say, 10 months. Okay, in optimal conditions, with no global pandemic, with no Omicron variants, optimal conditions, you're 9-12 months. So file the I-130 petition. It's gonna just sit, and then time is going to be your friend here. So you file it. You file the I-130 petition. You file for U.S. citizenship at the same time, if you can do that. The filing fee for the I-130 petition is $535. The filing fee for the N-400 is $725. So you file both of them at the same time, and by the time you get your U.S. citizenship, your I-130 priority date is like 9 months prior, right? So your time is your friend. Time, you want time working for you. So a lot of times people are like, oh, it's faster if I'm a U.S. citizen, then I will petition for my spouse, my family members, whatever the case is. But it may be the case, but you've got to file that I-130 petition to get that priority date, to get in line. I guess that's what I've been trying to say for the past 17 sentences. Get in line, get your priority date, file that I-130 petition, go live your life, file the U.S. citizenship, and then get your citizenship. Inform USCIS or National Visa Centers like, hey, I'm a U.S. citizen now. Here's my certificate of naturalization, and you'll you may be put on a different track that's faster. Right now, the processing times for the I-130 petition are right around the same time, I believe, for most service centers for permanent residents who file for their spouse or U.S. citizens who file for their spouse. It's right around the same time. Based on the December 2021 visa bulletin, which is out, of course, is December 1st, the visas are available for the spouses of lawful permanent resident. It's current. And so right now, you just have to file both if you can. There's no reason that you can't.
You got that, Mackenzie Caillou? So
let us know. Give us a thumbs up if that.
So what she's saying is, call us tomorrow morning and schedule an appointment. Okay? And we'll take it from there.
There you go. All right. So
seriously, I hope that helped.
Yeah. Let me see here. May has a question here. Let me just go ahead and put that on. Is this the same question? May says, good evening, attorney. I would like to ask if my status will affect my brother's interview in the Philippines for E3 visa.
Oh, this is funny.
Is May?
May, May, you were next up on TikTok, and then you jumped over. Good for you. Good for you.
I am already out of status, but I got married last year to a permanent resident, and right now we only have the notice of proof for I-130 application. Still waiting for him to apply for citizenship for me to proceed with my green card. Thank you so much. So the question that May has is, she's out of status in the United States. She has an I-130 petition pending. Is that going to affect her brother's interview for unemployment-based visa, immigrant visa?
Yep.
That's a good question. I have heard, and I have heard that sometimes the consular officer will ask about family members and statuses of family members, but I can't say that definitively. I cannot say that definitively. I have heard that. I haven't had experience with that. We haven't had a case where, somebody's been denied an immigrant visa because they have a family member who's out of status in the United States. I think that even though you are siblings, I think it's too far removed, right? I mean, he has zero control over what you do. I mean, or what you've done, so I just think I think it's too far removed, but I have heard that it has come up before. So the situation though, May, is what it is. I would try not to worry about it too much because the situation is what it is. If he needs to say something about you and your status in the United States, he can always say that you are in the process, which is true, right? You're in the process. So good luck to your brother, and congrats to him for getting an interview. Hopefully that gets done soon.
I just looked at the time. Did you want to talk about the travel ban updates?
Yeah, really, really quickly. You all may have heard that there is a new variant, and it's called the Omicron variant. And recently, President Biden, I was going to say President Trump. It was not President Trump. It was President Biden who he suspended and limited the entry into the United States from people who are who are physically present in Botswana, Eswatini, Lesotho, Malawi, Mozambique, Namibia, South Africa, and Zimbabwe, African countries. So if you've been in any of those countries, physically present in any of those countries, you cannot enter the United States. Now, there are many exceptions. There are 10, 11, 12 exceptions to this. And so, of course, if you're a lawful permanent resident or a U.S. citizen of the United States, this does not apply to you. If, child or spouse of U.S. military. So there are many, many exceptions to this. If you feel like you may fall with an exception, just let us know. You can also just Google the presidential proclamation. It will come right up. Not a huge fan of travel bans. I think that what happened recently where everyone had to get a immunization, I think that's a much better science-based plan as opposed to banning people from certain countries, especially when you've got 15 exceptions. But anyway, we don't talk about that. We just report on what's happening. So that is going into effect right now, as of I believe it happened on the 27th, effective the 27th. So, all right, let's see. Let's see if we have any.
While you were giving that update, I was monitoring TikTok, and I love this. So, Celibo wanted to know in the Midwest what states were the fastest. He's ready to naturalize, and he was wondering if any states are faster than others. And then Lost in the Midwest responded that he thought that Cleveland, Ohio was pretty fast for the N400,
Awesome.
which caught my eye because I grew up in Northern Ohio. So I wasn't doing immigration work then. So I don't know if Cleveland, Ohio is fast or not, although we have been there before that.
Yeah. So what you can do, and so it depends on where you live in the Midwest, right? So if you are willing to move around and be there for, I believe it's 90 days before you can apply for the N400, you can look up USCIS processing times. I've talked about this in a lot of the TikTok video, a couple of the TikTok videos. Just basically Google USCIS processing times. It will come right up. You put the N400 in the form, and then you choose the field office. You can choose Cleveland, and you can see what the processing times are. I mean, so that's one way to take a look at that for future.
And I like the Twitter name Lost in the Midwest. That's funny.
All right.
Okay, and there was a question there as well. I don't know if you saw that. Did you get to that one right there?
So Robert says, due to the pandemic, my income went down. Will my I-130 petition be affected because of my income being lower? So I don't remember what Robert was doing, whether he was doing a green card application or consular processing. But anyway, ultimately, the question comes down to the affidavit of support, the 864, and you have to take a look at the I-864P. Just go ahead and Google that. It will show what threshold amount of money you have to be making in order to not have to have a joint sponsor. If you don't make the threshold income for your family household size, then you may have to have a joint sponsor. It does not affect the I-130 petition. The affidavit of support and the support for as a petitioner really only comes into play at the very end of the process. The I-130 petition, all the I-130 petition in adjudicating that, the officer is looking at if you're doing it for a spouse, are you married? And are you a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident? That's all they're looking at. And are you eligible to get married? Like you're not married to anyone else or previous marriages have been terminated. So down the road is when the affidavit of support comes into play. And just I would take a look at the 864P. If we're doing adjustment of status, that you would be updating that at your green card interview or at the green card interview. So wow, we only have 4 minutes. This has gone by so fast because it's because we weren't here last week because of Thanksgiving. So
Bad Wolf has asked what will happen to DACA if the Build Back Better immigration reform passes. DACA is not specifically addressed in the Build Back Better legislation. DACA is a separate situation and it's a separate problem. DACA is been snarled in the courts is the problem there. So what happened there is a federal judge enjoined new applications and that is still being litigated. So we'll keep you posted on that as well.
Yep.
All right, Bad Wolf.
Okay, so let's see. We have a couple minutes here and we have a couple of questions. Before we answer the next question, I just want to say thank you all so much for all of your wonderful questions.
Yep.
We love answering them and they're not just helping you, they're helping everyone else here, hopefully. And if you want to get in touch with us for an appointment, putting our information on the board here, you can give us a call at 757-464-9224 for you guys too. You can text us or you can send us an email at info@gmlaw.net. Those are the two best ways to get in touch with us. Our messenger is monitored. TikTok DMs are pretty much shut down because we have to be following each other in order for us to communicate on TikTok. And some of you are not following me. You should be, and I'm not following some of you. And when I want to answer a question on TikTok, and it's a really good question, I go into a person's DMs. I will follow you if it's something that I have a heart for.
Yeah, and if you go on, I mean, basically the TikToks are addressing all kinds of issues, and there's a pretty good chance that your question is similar to the issue that's addressed in one of your TikToks. So
there's so many of them. You know,
yes.
if you have to suffer through all the TikToks in order to find the answer to your question, I would just pay the $245 and have a consultation with me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So we do charge $245 for up to 1 hour consultation. We do that through Zoom, and we answer the questions. And if we can't answer the questions, we will get back with you. But 9.5 times out of 10, we're able to get it done during that consultation. And you will know the path that you need to take after a consultation with us. So let me grab this. One of the last questions here, unless you've got one, but this one, Ulysses, he says, if your I-130 is received and you're waiting for an answer and you also need to file the 601A, how long will that take, plus or minus? Please and thank you. Ulysses, great to see you. and a great question. So when we are doing the I-130 petition, again, it really depends on where your I-130 petition goes, which service center it went to. Nebraska is a shorter time period. California is really long. So let's just say your I-130 takes a year to approve. What happens after that is then you notify the National Visa Center and say you pay the fee, you pay the bill at the National Visa Center. The fee bill is what it's called. And then you proceed to file your 601A, the provisional waiver. And that, can take up to a year. So again, if you want to check processing times, just Google USCIS processing times. the range that USCIS will give you is sometimes scary, might make you have a heart attack, right? Because it's just like, oh, your case can be approved within 9 months to 3 years. But don't worry about that too much. I mean, it is just a range and on the opposite ends of the spectrum. So, but yeah, you can expect the 601A to take, I would say, up to a year. And then you go back to the National Visa Center, you upload all of your affidavit of support and all of your biographic information, file your DS form. And then the big waiting question here, Ulysses, is how long is it going to take for you to get an interview? And so I don't know where you're from, but that is really what's taking long right now. It's all taking long. It's all taking long. So hang in there. Congrats on, having the qualifications to file a waiver in the I-130 petition. You're 100% moving in the right direction. Wish you the best of luck.
Okay, gang. Well, I'm looking at the clock.
Oh my gosh, we've gone over a minute. Where's our alarm clock?
It is now 9 p.m. here on the East Coast of the United States, and that means our time is up.
That means we're gonna eat some Chinese food from Hong Kong House in Virginia Beach. Yes.
If you haven't been to Hong Kong House, you have to check
and
it
eat
out.
the food there. The food is so hot and fresh when it comes right out.
Absolutely.
But
all right, gang.
Yeah, thank you all so much.
And thank you on TikTok. We'll see all of you next Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Bring your questions, okay? And we'll bring the updates and the answers.
2 thumbs up, guys. Thank you so much. It's been so much fun.
Have a great night.
All right. Bye-bye.